Ever stop to think about something you do every single day? You walk across a room, through the air like it's not even there. But then you reach a wall, also made of matter, and bam, it stops you in your tracks. Why? It's a question that honestly gets to the very core of how we perceive reality.
So why is that? Why does one type of matter act like a ghost you can just pass through, while another one is a solid fortress? The answer is a pretty wild ride. We're going to go from these vast, empty spaces between molecules all the way down to the fundamental forces that create the illusion of solidness itself. So first up, let's talk about that ghost in the room, the air.
On one hand, you've got air. It's ghostly, it flows, you can't even see it. And on the other hand, you have the wall. It's a fortress. It stops you, it feels completely solid. To really get why they're so different, we need to zoom in. I mean, way, way in, down to the microscopic level.
All right, so let's tackle the air first. How is it that we just glide right through it? Well, the secret isn't really about what's there. It's about what's not.
See, air is a gas, and all of that really means is that its molecules are incredibly far apart from one another. The real key here isn't the particles themselves, it's the absolutely massive amount of empty space between them.
And when I say far apart, I mean really far apart. On average, any two molecules in a gas are about 300 times their own size away from each other. To put that into perspective, if a molecule was the size of a basketball, the next one over would be almost a full mile away. That's the staggering kind of emptiness you're moving through right now.
So because these molecules are so spread out and the forces pulling them together are practically zero, you don't actually break through the air. You just gently nudge its lonely particles out of your way. Honestly, they barely put up a fight.
Okay, so that explains the air. Now for the fortress. If air is all about empty space, then a wall must be the complete opposite, right? It must just be jam-packed solid. Well, let's take a closer look.
In a solid, things are totally different. The particles aren't just drifting around randomly. Nope, they are locked into this super tight repeating structure called a crystal lattice. It's like a perfectly organized, three-dimensional grid, the absolute opposite of the chaos you see in a gas.
The atoms in a wall are essentially shoulder to shoulder, and they're bound together by incredibly strong forces. There are just no empty lanes for you to pass through. It's like trying to get through a dense crowd where everyone is linking arms and refusing to budge. You're just not getting through.
So, there we have it, right? Air is mostly empty, a wall is completely full. Seems logical. Case closed. But what if I told you that this impenetrable fortress is built on a foundation of, well, almost nothing?
And here's where things get really weird. Every single atom in that solid wall is itself 99.9% empty space. Yeah, the very building blocks of the fortress are just as ghostly as the air. And this brings us to a much, much deeper mystery.
This analogy is just incredible for getting your head around it. If you blew up an atom to be the size of a football stadium, all of its actual stuff, the nucleus, would be nothing more than a tiny pea sitting in the very center. Everything else, the entire rest of that stadium, is just empty space.
So if the wall is made of atoms, and atoms are almost entirely empty space, then what in the world is actually stopping you? The answer isn't something you can see or touch. It's a force.
It's a force called electromagnetic repulsion. And it's all based on a really simple rule. Like charges repel. Two positives push each other away, and so do two negatives. It's this fundamental force that creates the physical sensation we call solid.
So that huge empty space inside an atom, it's not truly empty, it's filled with a cloud of negatively charged electrons. So, as the electron clouds of the atoms in your hand approach the electron clouds of the atoms in the wall, those two negative fields get closer and closer, and they start to repel each other with an incredible amount of force.
And this is the most mind-blowing part of all. You have never actually touched anything, ever. What you feel as touch is just the electromagnetic repulsion between the electrons in your atoms and the electrons in whatever you're touching. You're not actually making contact, you're feeling an invisible force field pushing back.
So let's put it all together. The real difference between air and a wall isn't just about how much empty space their molecules have, it's about the invisible forces that are at play.
In the air, the particles are just too far apart for you to ever feel their little repulsive force fields. But in a wall, those atoms are locked into that tight grid, and their force fields combine to create one unified, impenetrable wall of electromagnetic repulsion.
Their force field simply will not let your force field pass.
So the solidity of the world we experience every day is, in a way, an illusion, a sensory trick played on us by these invisible forces. And it really makes you wonder, if something as basic as solid isn't what we think it is, what else in our reality isn't quite what it seems?